Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're tackling a really fascinating prophetic phrase, one that some say unlocks literally thousands of years of history. We're talking about a thread that connects ancient Babylon all the way to our world today. So yeah, let's just dive right in.
So let's get right to it. What exactly are the times of the Gentiles? You've probably heard this phrase thrown around if you're into biblical prophecy, but it can be a little, well, confusing. In this explainer, we're going to break it all down. What it means, where the idea even comes from, and, most importantly, why it matters. And, as always, we're sticking straight to the source material here.
And you know, the whole concept really snaps into focus with this one single verse from the Gospel of Luke. This is Jesus himself talking about future events, and then he just drops this very specific phrase, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. This right here is our starting pistol. It's the primary clue that kicks off this whole investigation.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this huge prophetic period, we've got to start by unpacking that phrase. And believe it or not, the key to the whole thing, it's the city of Jerusalem.
All right, so here's the core definition, straight from the source. The times of the Gentiles isn't some fuzzy, vague concept. Nope, it's a specific, very long historical era. And it's defined as the period when non-Jewish world powers, what the Bible calls Gentiles, are the ones in charge, dominating the world stage, and, critically, Jerusalem.
And that right there, that's the main indicator. The prophecy says that as long as Jerusalem is being trampled underfoot, which is just a way of saying dominated by these non-Jewish powers, then we are smack in the middle of this specific time period. The status of that one city, that's the ultimate litmus test.
But here's the thing, this idea didn't just pop up out of nowhere in the New Testament. Oh no, it actually has incredibly deep roots way back in the Old Testament, and you'll find them in the wild visions of the prophet Daniel.
If you've ever read the book of Daniel, you know it's full of these incredible, almost surreal visions. You've got the giant statue made of gold, silver, bronze, and iron. Then there's the vision of 4 terrifying beasts coming out of the sea, and another one with a ram and a goat. The symbols are all different, right? But here's the crazy part. They all point to the exact same thing, a sequence, a succession of powerful Gentile empires that would rule the world.
And this really shows you the sheer scale of what we're talking about. This isn't just a few years. It has a definite kickoff point, 588 BC, when Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem. From there, it just flows right through the huge empires of history, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. It continues all the way through to our present day, and it even has a very specific prophesied endpoint sometime in the future. It's massive.
So what's the common thread? What connects all of Daniel's crazy visions to what Jesus said centuries later? It's the ending. Every single one of these prophecies, no matter the symbols, they all drive toward the exact same conclusion. A day comes when the Gentile world powers are finally done, and God's own kingdom is set up on earth forever.
Okay, so we know what this era is. We know when it started. But the big question is, why? Why did it happen? Is there like a theological reason for this super long period of Gentile rule? Well, the answer seems to be yes, and it all has to do with a major shift in focus.
And this verse from the book of Romans, this is probably our biggest clue. It talks about a partial hardening that's come upon Israel, basically a temporary period of spiritual resistance to the gospel. But look what that does. It creates a special window of opportunity for the Gentiles. And listen to the phrasing. Does this sound familiar? Until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in. It's almost the same language Jesus used.
So you've really got two sides of the same coin here. The source material explains it like this. When the Jewish nation as a whole rejected Jesus as the Messiah, God's primary focus kinda shifted, temporarily. The gospel message was then taken out to the non-Jewish world, and that kicked off this unique period of spiritual opportunity for the Gentiles.
And this is where you get this amazing, kind of ironic twist in history. The very same Gentile empires that were dominating everything, I'm talking about the Greeks and especially the Romans, they accidentally, or maybe providentially, created the perfect setup for spreading the gospel. Think about it. You had the Greek language, which almost everyone spoke, and the incredible system of Roman roads connecting the whole known world. It was like a superhighway for the Christian message to travel farther and faster than anyone could have imagined.
All right, so if this whole era has a clear beginning and a clear purpose, well, logic says it's got to have a clear end, right? So how does this all wrap up? What's the prophesied conclusion?
Well, the source lays out a very specific sequence of events. It's like a chain reaction. First, that spiritual window of opportunity for the Gentiles, their fullness, it comes to an end. That's the first domino. That falling then signals that the political times of the Gentiles are also fulfilled. And right after that, the prophecy says God's focus shifts back to Israel, which leads to their national restoration and eventually their acceptance of the Messiah.
And this is the grand finale. The end of the times of the Gentiles is directly tied to the fall of the final Gentile world power and the beginning of Christ's kingdom on earth. It's the ultimate culmination, the point where all those prophecies from Daniel and the words of Jesus and Luke finally come together and make perfect sense.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, the whole concept of the times of the Gentiles suggests that history isn't just one random thing after another. Instead, it's presented as this long, unfolding story, one that has a definite beginning, a purpose, and a very specific end. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on, doesn't it? If this long stretch of world history really does have a defined purpose and an endpoint, what does that imply about the nature of history itself? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.